Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. Have a little bit of a late start, but that's okay. And yeah, we have a full hour of the Computer America Show, and of course, it's our all
Your
Linux
show will go
show
live in
with Marcel
five
Gagne.
seconds.
Here we
Four,
go with Computer America.
three, two, one.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Grossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully everyone out there is having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday afternoon as we head into the show. Because once again, this is our all Linux show. This is where we discuss, not just Linux news and stuff like that, but also this time around, fun projects and things that you can do only with Linux and, kind of get your hands dirty with some of the nitty gritty. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we have Marcel Gagne, who is, again, the host of Cooking with Linux podcast and of course, runs a variety of different things that you should definitely check out that we will include in the show notes. Now, speaking of the show notes, of course, head on over to computeramerica.com where you will find all the links and everything you need to know about today's show. We'll include any articles we discuss. We'll include this time around any operating systems that we talk about, or anything and everything that has to do with today's show. You can find over in the show notes. And while you're over at ComputerAmerica.com, be sure to check out our social media contest that we are running with Logitech. We have a new way to enter, so if you go over to facebook.com/ComputerAmerica, there will be a post there. Go there, follow, like it, share it, comment on it, whatever, and we will choose one participant from interacting with that single post, and we will give them a prize here tomorrow, Friday, and we will read their name live on the air. Hope you all enjoy that, and next week, just a heads up, we will be doing the same thing, but on Twitter. So yep, just a little heads up on that. But yeah, and you can find out all that and more information over at our website. Let's see. Also check out the video portion. That's very important. And I think that's it. So I think we're just going to bring on our guest, who is who's waiting oh so patiently. Hopefully everything is working, and we are sure to find out here in a minute. So welcome onto the show again, free thinker at large, Mr. Marcel Gagne.
Well, hello there. How the heck are you doing?
Doing well, doing as well as can be. So yeah, and happy to have you back on. I mean, people are always remiss if we don't get the Linux show in, and and I'm glad that you're here to do it with us.
Well, I don't see your face today. What's going on? I'm missing you.
See, this is a subject that we've talked about on the show before with open broadcasting software, and right? No, trust me. You look gorgeous. Don't worry about it. But no, we've talked about open broadcasting software, OBS, on the show before, and they have a feature they're missing a feature that XSplit, which is one of the competitors, you have to pay for it. Yeah, the virtual
right. You had that weird, superimposing yourself over yourself and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I remember that. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, and again,
because this was December.
And OBS is again kind of relevant because of course it's open software and you can feel free to edit it. And of course the kind of lead guy in charge of OBS, when asked, hey, are you going to get a virtual webcam application or whatever built into it? He's like, you can go take a crack at it. I don't want to. I don't care to. So you go do it.
I'll get around to it when I get around to it.
Pretty
okay?
much. That's what he said. But
actually, there is a way to do that. Believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know about in the Windows world, but in the Linux world, I'll tell you. Section out of your screen. So you can say, well, I want that window to appear. I want that window to appear, things like that. So one of the things that you can do is on the portion of your desktop that you're running, you can run basically, I can't imagine you can't do that in Windows, but you can run a little basic, like just another window that sits on top of everything else that you're showing off so that you do have your webcam running.
Right. No, well, yeah, that kind of works, but like the reason that doesn't work for me would be because, you know, I need to send the webcam to Google Hangouts, and I'd have to get a way to go into, and like my webcam can only go to one place. So again,
you know, I won't beat you up any further on this. Okay,
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure I'm wrong somewhere, but no, OBS. That's a topic that we have beaten to death. You can go check out some of our previous shows too.
That's right, and he's not actually kidding. We have actually talked about OBS a lot.
Yeah. So go check out our previous shows if you want to hear more about getting a broadcasting software up and running on your computer. But today you have submitted for our consideration and the listeners' consideration a new subject, and this is a subject that I'm glad that you brought up now because CES just happened at the beginning of the year. It was quite the shindig, is what I meant to say. Didn't make it out there, but you know, we had plenty of reporters out there and plenty of our friends from other publications out there. And one thing that they all came back with is that the Internet of Things, the connected home, is booming, so expect to see more of that.
Yep.
And then in all of these connected devices, they all have a digital assistant, be it their own, be it Alexa, be it Google Home. Yep. They all have one. So you have a topic for us today. Why is that relevant?
Well, first of all, I do have to tell you that yes, I am actually, for the people out there who can't, who are just listening on the radio and who can't actually see me, I am drinking wine today. So,
right. And by the way, people can see. Just want to make that clear.
One of the things we're going to mention today starts with A and it starts with A and ends with A. Okay, and I'm sure some of you out there probably know what I'm talking about. So I decided to pick a wine that started with A and ended in A. I know it's a really dubious
one, but I like
it. There you go. All right, it's a wine called Azteca, Astica, and it's from Argentina. It's a 2016 Merlot and Malbec blend. I'd call this one medium-bodied.
Sounds good.
Though not terribly complex, it does have some nice fruit berry flavors, soft tannins, and it goes down nice. And what's really cool about this, since I like to make these little recommendations every once in a while. What's really cool about this wine is that this thing is like, even in Canada, is less than $8 a bottle, even in Canada. So you guys can probably buy it for 50 cents or something like that at your local version of the liquor store.
Are you kidding me? It's so cheap they have replaced the water fountains with it. It's just wine. It's wonderful. The kids have never been happier.
Years ago when I was in California, and I'm talking like years ago, the last time I was in California was a while back, I went to a restaurant and there was a little card on the table that said, "Drink the wine, the grapes were watered long ago." So, I take that to heart. I take that to heart to this very day. Okay, so the A that ends with A is Alexa. And Alexa, of course, is the intelligent assistant in Amazon's Echo. All right. And I don't know how many people out there have already jumped into this, but the progenitors of the forecasters of 2017 have already decided that it is going to be the year of the intelligent assistant. Right. I thought it was supposed to be the year of VR, but apparently it's going to be the year of the intelligent assistant. And of course, the best known one, the one that sort of hit the market first in a big way. There've been some around for a while. If you've got your phone, whether it's Siri on your iPhone or like my Nexus 6P here, I've got Google's assistant on here. You're familiar with an intelligent assistant. Those things are already out there. What's the weather for today going to be? And of course, we can do all that stuff. It'll just pop up and say, well, the weather for today is, whatever it's going to be. Anyway, so that stuff already exists. But of course, Alexa was this box, this kind of just little black cylinder that sits in the middle of the room that listens to everybody. And you can say, Alexa, do this for me. Alexa, do that for me. And, what's the weather? Play me some music, because it's got an embedded speaker. And it was really, really cool. And as soon as I found out about this thing, I signed up on the Amazon website and I said, yes, for all that that is right and good in the universe, I need to know as soon as this thing is available. Well, I'm in Canada, so it's still not available. Okay,
Really?
now then Google Home came out, and Google Home sent me a message saying, Google Home is going to be available. Do you want one? And I said, for all that's good and right in the universe, yes, I want one. I need to have one. I need to have this intelligent assistant. Why I need this thing, I'm not entirely sure. But the idea, I've always dreamed, like when I was young and I was reading science fiction stories, or I was listening to, or I was watching science fiction movies and so forth. There was always a computer that, you could just say computer, and then, you'd say whatever it is you wanted, and the computer would do things for you. And in some science fiction stories, the computer had an actual personality,
Marvin the robot,
could actually, right. Yeah, the computer could actually talk to you. I mean, one of my favorites was The Number of the Beast. It was a science fiction story by a novel by Robert A. Heinlein. Mm-hmm. And there was a computer named Dora. And Dora, for all the world, was a person. She was also a computer and a spaceship, but she was also a person. And that theme was carried in some other stories as well. I mean, it wasn't the only one, but I thought, I need to have one of these things at some point. I need to have this disembodied intelligence sitting in my house that is going to respond to my every whim, that is going to remind me when I have to be somewhere, when I have to make an appointment for something, which reminds me, I was supposed to make an appointment with the dentist today. I haven't done that yet. See, if I had an intelligent assistant here, I know it could be on my phone, but I have to, anyway. So the idea is that it's ever present. It's always listening. It's just there. The thing with your phone, of course, is you have to have your phone with you. And I realize we mostly always do. All right. Mm-hmm. But just the idea that your home is sort of, there listening to you. And yes, I know there's security implications, but we're not talking about that right now. Okay. We're not going to that. So Alexa is not available for me anyway. And Google Home is not available yet. I'm hearing that sometime in the first quarter of 2017, folks, it's the first quarter of 2017. Get on with it. That it is going to be available, but at the moment, sadly, it's not. So I started looking at open source projects out there that did a similar thing. Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, there are quite a few, and they are simple-ish. But let me just step back for a second. Do you remember, I don't know, 10 shows ago or something like that, I told you about a project I thought, this is really cool. And it was a project called Mycroft.
Mycroft
was on either a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. I don't remember which one exactly it was, mm-hmm. but it was one of those two. And they had launched the project on there saying, hey, join us and, give us some money and we're going to produce this cool little intelligent assistant. Excuse me while I drink some water.
Yeah, no. And we'll, of course, include the link in the show notes, but it does look, all the world like an old school radio kind of deal. But yeah, no.
It does. It does. And we had Mycroft. I mean, we spoke about Mycroft and I said, I really want to get one of these things. And I've supported a number of Indiegogo campaigns as well as Kickstarters where I thought something was really cool. And for the most part, I've gotten lucky, as in I wound up getting the stuff that I was interested in. Sometimes, as is the case with some of these things, it's late. It takes like forever. It's like, come on, you said you were going to ship at this date, and I haven't seen it yet. But so far I've gotten lucky. I've gotten everything that I wanted. But for some reason I forgot to support the Mycroft project. I don't remember why. And then it sort of, drifted out of my mind. Well, with all this talk of intelligent assistants, I started going out to see what was happening. And as it turns out, Mycroft has still not shipped as of this date. Okay. However, Mycroft is an open source project. Okay, now, and we'll get back to Alexa in a minute, but right. Mycroft is an open source project. And as an open source project, there is a community involved in its development. And if you're curious about that, first of all, Mycroft Mycroft is just very simply Mycroft, MYCROFT.ai is the site where the whole magic takes place, so to speak, Mycroft.ai. Now, Mycroft.ai only tells you so much, because it's still, hey, this is what we're doing, this is the product, or you can order it, AI for everyone. So there's some cool things. There's the videos of how it works and so forth. And as you probably, and Mycroft is interesting because while it may not have delivered yet, there is a lot of activity happening. And in fact, do you remember you know about the X Prize, right?
I do not, but I'm reading on their website that IBM sponsors it. So,
Well,
I mean, I know
IBM is not the first one. The X Prize was the very first X Prize was an interesting thing. It was, we want to fund a public company. In other words, we're going to put up, and the X Prize Foundation, the first X Prize Foundation, put up, I believe it was $10 million, which is nothing. I mean, to you and me, $10 million, awesome, man. But for the thing that they were working on, $10 million would have been minimal. But what they said was, look, we want a company over the course of the next, and I forget what it was, I think it was 3 years at the time, in 3 years must be able to launch a ship into into space. So it has to be a private company that sends a rocket or a ship or something into space. And that launched basically a huge number of companies that said, we can put a spaceship up there all of a sudden. So it wasn't just NASA and the Russians who were, putting up things into space. It was like, let's see if we can get private enterprise involved in this. And of course, nowadays you've got Elon Musk, and you've got Project Blue from Amazon, and you've got other companies that are pursuing this sort of thing. And of course, the one that, I believe the one that won the X Prize was Spaceship One. In the Mojave Desert, Composites, sorry, it was something Composites. I'm trying to remember the full name of the company. But they built Spaceship One, and it was the one to win the X Prize. Basically a space plane that went suborbital, or just, and actually went up into space and then came back down.
Composites, maybe?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. That is the one. I always love that company because they had such cool planes. When I was getting my pilot's license, I always thought, I want one of these things at some point. Anyway,
I want to go to space. That's what you said when you got your pilot's license. It's
well,
not, I want to go to space.
I wanted to go to space before I got my pilot's license, but somewhere along the way, I thought, it's probably a good first step to fly an airplane. So I learned to fly airplanes. But
very right.
I did learn how to fly airplanes, but somehow I haven't made it into space yet.
Very right. So the X Prize, it's still going on, and it looks like Mycroft was invested in it in some manner. Yeah, well,
the X Prize, as it turns out, what they found out was, hey, if we got that much interest going on it, let's launch sub X Prize. So there was a tricorder X Prize, which was let's build a personal health device that can, check your blood pressure, find out if there's something wrong with you or whatever. So there's a tricorder X Prize. And of course, there's now an AI X Prize. And basically the whole idea in all of this is we're going to put up a whole pile of money, and we're going to see if we can get people interested in really putting forth a lot of effort, to spur development, to create the next big thing. Okay. And Mycroft is one of the projects that went after that. Now, Mycroft, being an open source project, has figured out that, it's probably a good idea if we involve, it was supposed to be an open source project right from the beginning, but they involved the community. And in fact, if you take a look, there is a website, and again, this is in the notes, there's a website, community.mycroft.ai, where they discuss all the developments in this intelligent assistant. And of course, it's a lot, if you want to get right down to it, it's a lot like Echo. It's a lot like Google Home. You ask it, but because of how it's built, it can also tie into your intelligent devices, like your thermostat or your smart TV, or, the lights in your house or whatever. And in fact, they're all sort of going down that road at the moment, because you don't just want to talk to this thing. You want this thing to take control of your life, or control of your life at your leisure,
right,
or whim.
Yeah, it's and that's what, again, I was kind of pointing out at CES, was that it's not just lights and major appliances in your garage door. I mean, at this point, it's your car, it's your frying pan, it's your thermostat, it's everything. I mean, we're quickly heading to not just you being able to shout at your washing machine, hey, wash those clothes, and your washing machine does it. But like you said, things like Mycroft and things like Alexa are going to be able to yell at the appliances and get them to work. I mean, that's the dream of all of this.
It is. And, I know that there are things that you can do for yourself. Like, I'll be honest, I can't really, at this point anyway, imagine going through the trouble of setting up my coffee machine with the filters in place and with the coffee in place and the water and everything ready to go, just so that I can then ask something to make my coffee for me. Like you saw the video that was out, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook showed off his version of what he called Jarvis, which is based on the chatbot. Which is based on the chatbot that
Facebook put out.
That is being built into Messenger. Their chat application, right? There is actually a chatbot behind Messenger. Most people don't know that it's there, but there's a chatbot back there that will eventually become more and more involved in what you do on Messenger, and that is kind of the dream. If you want to see where this can go, I realize I'm digressing slightly here, but there's a company here in Waterloo where I live, a company called Kik, K-I-K. And if you've never heard of Kik,
I love their application. It's great.
I was going to say, if you've never heard of Kik, then it's just that you're not young enough, okay? Because every kid, every teenager knows what Kik is, okay? Just like they know what Snapchat is, they know what Kik is.
Right.
And Kik is fascinating because Kik has a bot store, so to speak. I mean, it's all free stuff. There may be some things that they charge for, but I'm not even sure there's anything that isn't free. Kik has a bot store where you can download all these little AIs. You can download you can download like this 15-year-old girl, if you want, if your teenager needs a BFF, you can download an AI that's that. If you're like me, you're going to download an AI that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so you can talk to the
Right. I just opened up Kik here right now, and it's they have fashion beauty, so you can talk with chatbots that will talk to you about fashion beauty, games, lifestyle. I mean, and again, they're all free. It's pretty cool.
And it's kind of amazing. In some ways, I mean, I have to say that I actually don't use Kik for chat, although my son's on it.
Right.
But I don't really use it for chat. However, I'm fascinated by some of the bots that they've got back there. Every once in a while, I just load another one just to see what it does. It's really, really kind of cool. And like I said, there's a bot store, so you can find out what's happening with that. So there's a lot more to this whole AI thing, these intelligent assistant, than just, this cool thing. It's also something that is always there. So let's say that you are chatting with somebody online about something, and you say, hey, do you want to check out that movie later today? Well, you know that the intelligent assistant is always sitting there listening in the background, or at least that's kind of the dream.
Right.
Okay. So the intelligent assistant is always listening in the background, and the intelligent assistant will just pop up and say, oh, I've checked and the movie is on tonight at 7:00. Shall I get tickets for you?
One thing I have been noticing lately, and this happens with Facebook Messenger, and I think with maybe with Kik, maybe it doesn't, but definitely with Facebook Messenger, where I'll be talking to someone and I say, so what are you doing today? And it'll underline today, and of course, what are you doing is not an event, but if I wanted to say, would you like to catch a movie today? They would input, you just hit today, and it would input that event into a calendar for you. Like, it actively scans your messages and tries to pick out places, tries to pick out events, and tries to, turn that into useful applications.
My mother just just ran into this a few days ago. We have one of my sisters set up a family chat. I have 3 sisters, 1 brother, my mom and dad, and of course their significant others, husbands, wives, and so forth. So they set up this chat channel so we could all talk about whatever it is that's important for the more or less immediate family in terms of get-togethers and what's happening in our lives and so forth. And I noticed that as well. And it came up, and the date today was underlined. And obviously my mother was going like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to touch this. And then she created this event for all of us to get together.
Right.
and I had no idea what was happening other than the fact that it's like, oh, well, I guess we're all getting together, and it shows up in your calendars and so forth. It's a little bit freaky.
Yeah, it is, and also to digress, just a little bit more. I mean, we've seen chatbots also go horribly wrong. Don't want to say they're a perfect technology. Twitter tried one, and it took Twitter all of I think like 3 days to turn it into a xenophobic, racist, just hate speech, hate bot. I mean, it was.
Did Microsoft try the same thing? Did
Microsoft try? I think Microsoft did it through Twitter. I think that's
they
what
did
it was.
Through Twitter. That's right, exactly.
And I guess the thing that they learned was you can't tell people that we're trying to train a bot, because then you can train a bot to do anything you want. So we're gonna start seeing these, behind the scenes, like you mentioned, kind of chatbots, but they do show that artificial intelligence, like as much as it was science fiction 5 years ago, in some form, it's already here, and it's going to be a part of your future in the next couple of years.
Yeah, whether you accept that this is actually what's happening or not, it's coming. I mean, it is the future that we're heading towards. So I, as a tech geek, obviously I want to get to that future before everybody else. I actually just sent you the in the chat there. We can include that in the notes after. I just sent you the link to the Mark Zuckerberg video where he shows, what he's, and of course he has to do now I've lost the band. I can't believe it that everybody makes fun of. They don't have any good music.
He has to Nickelback.
Thank you. There are no good Nickelback songs. He has to make there are no good jokes in the video. He has to throw it into the video because he asks his AI. He says, Jarvis, play me a good Nickelback song. And Jarvis comes up and says, I'm sorry, I can't do that, Mark. Mark is looking a little bit scared, like, why not? And then the AI comes up and says, which by the way is, anyway, sorry. And it comes up and says, I'm sorry, Mark, there are no good Nickelback songs. And Mark goes, right, you are.
The butt of all jokes. But I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, just as a character, he does seem to be pushing a lot of this future stuff. I mean, there's that infamous photo with him with all the people trying out VR for the first time. Him walking down the aisle among a million robot faces. Now he has Jarvis. I mean, Facebook is gonna push a lot of what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. So anyway, I mean, we've sort of moved off into why all these assistants are important, and they are actually. I mean, there have been a lot of problems, of course, with, if you'll pardon the expression, cheap Chinese Internet of Things devices that have no security on them that cause actually some massive problems. If you remember, a couple of months ago, there were massive outages, DNS attacks, denial of service attacks. Which were caused by all these security cameras, online security cameras, so that somebody could keep an eye on their pets at home, that sort of thing, which were then taken over and used to launch large denial of service attacks, taking down Twitter, although,
Well, I mean, it was only 800 million devices that were used to do a DDoS?
Yeah. It was the biggest denial of service attack ever.
It was huge.
And it was all these stupid little home devices, that. So the point I've talked to a lot of friends, as a couple of security experts who were chatting about this, and I've heard things like, we should just throw all this stuff out and just admit that it was a bad idea. The whole Internet of Things,
Too late for that.
I'm sorry, but the genie is out of that bottle. You can't throw that stuff away. And the fact is, we all want it. We all want we all want the smart home. We all want the things that remind us of this and that. Yeah, I know all is kind of, all encompassing. There are people who think that it would be a good idea if we went back to the horse and buggy. But the fact is, by and large, most of us want this stuff. So saying it was a bad idea, let's just not do this.
Well, yeah, and we have about a minute left here. Yeah, hear myself. But regardless, we have about a minute left here, and when we come back, I think we should also make clear, really the differences between maybe things that people have already been using in terms of digital assistants like Siri and in like the one you mentioned, as opposed to the capabilities of what we're talking about with Mycroft, and we're going to get back into Echo. And I actually have one for you that you didn't mention that I think is pretty cool and also open source. We're also going to talk about the Pico bot, the Peeqo. If you want to give that check it out, it's pretty
I
cool.
did not know about this one. Well, very good.
Yeah, check that out. But the music's playing, so we're going to be right back here with more Computer America, and of course, more Marcel Gagne, and who is again the host of the Cooking with Linux podcast. And yeah, stay tuned for more Computer America as we continue with our all Linux show and digital assistants. Be right back.
Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. Their mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
And forgot that we took that part out. So welcome back to the Computer America show. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here with Marcel Gagne. And he might have stepped away for a second, but and he's back already. So yeah, welcome back to the Computer America show. And for anyone out there who may be just joining us for any reason, once again, I want to mention computeramerica.com. That will have the show notes for today, as well as any links or articles or websites or anything that we talk about here on the show will be included there. So even though we may be jumping topic to topic, do not be scared that you have to write something down. It will all be available in the show notes. So with that being said, we are continuing on with Marcel Gagne. And and like I was mentioning, this is our all artificial intelligence, AI, kind of show here, and how Linux, of course, ties into that, because the best way to train a lot of these and the best way to get, actual useful stuff. And this is something that we saw with the Amazon Alexa kind of thing, is that Siri could have been this. I mean, Siri could have been what Alexa is, but Amazon took it a step further and let anyone download their developer kit and integrate Alexa, whereas Siri was very, very closed ecosystem. And and they just didn't let other applications make, like, I want to say recipes, because I'm thinking if this then that, but they didn't let other companies develop the skills for Siri. So now we have Alexa and everything instead of Siri. So yeah, Marcel, what do you see as some of the key differences between things like Siri and things that we are going to see more like Alexa?
Well, the thing with Siri is that it's tied to a device that basically you have to have on you. Whereas the things that we've been discussing, the intelligent home assistants, are really become part of your home. So it's the listener that's always, it's your butler, it's your assistant, it's the person that is always sitting there listening, ready to do something for you. And I use person in italics and quotes here, of course. Right. Although I know I'm digressing again here. I'm really, really sorry. Did you hear that in the EU they're actually trying to decide whether robots should be given rights as artificial persons?
I mean, I know that in India they gave that recently to dolphins, and like I'm all for
Well,
that.
I can see that,
But robots,
I'm
no.
not sure that we're at the point yet where robots qualify as truly
I don't,
intelligent and
I don't
deserve to
think they
have
ever will.
rights.
Yeah. I really don't think they ever will. I mean, robots, they can be intelligent, they can look intelligent, they can perform tasks that we consider intelligent, but they are still just toasters. And I know that is the premise of every single science fiction robot uprising where people just kick robots and go, it's just a toaster. What are you doing? But
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Oh, and Marcel had to run away for just a moment, and he's
No, I
already
didn't.
back.
I just had to throw something out the window, so I apologize.
Sure.
Anyway, okay, so I'm sorry for that little moment of digression there because I did actually want to go back. So anyway, so Mycroft was the just to go back to Mycroft. Mycroft was a Linux-based project that was going to be completely open source and so forth, but it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening, and there wasn't code, and there wasn't a way to actually go ahead with that. So it turned out that meanwhile, other projects sort of jumped in and started doing the same thing. And in fact, you just pointed out that Alexa opened up its AI, and that is one of the ones that I actually started playing with my Raspberry Pi. And over here, and it's not reaching that far. Here, let me unplug it and just stick it in front here.
Right.
Why is this happening to me? Anyway, the Raspberry Pi here that I've got wired up has as well a little sound card. And I'm going to pull all this stuff apart here. I have a little sound card, which is right here. I bought this thing off Amazon.com. And my Raspberry Pi is actually a Raspberry Pi 2. So the Raspberry Pi 2 also has this little wireless, USB wireless. Right. Now, the new Raspberry Pi 3s already have wireless built into it. So it's the sort of thing that you don't need to go out and get. But the sound card was one of those things. And obviously, this is it's got ports here for 2 different speakers on the front, as well as a microphone. It's got a volume control on the front, and that allows me to control the Raspberry Pi or change the volume. But it also gives me access via a microphone. And for the microphone, I've been using just a little lavalier mic, this little lavalier mic, which you clip to. Now, obviously, for the final box that I'm building, everything is going to be self-contained in a little box that I'm going to sit in the center of the room. Now, Alexa at the beginning was set up in such a way that it couldn't use hot words, which made it a real pain in the butt, which made me start looking at other projects. But if you go to, excuse me, if you go to the show notes, you'll have a link to the Alexa source code so that you can actually go and download the Alexa project stuff. And it's on the raspberrypi.org site /blog/amazon-echo-homebrew-version is the first place that you can start for the link. Now, Alexa is a little bit strange because you have to go and create a security profile. You have to create a developer account on Amazon.com, and then you have to develop you have to create a security profile. And then once you've got all those fancy numbers and so forth, you have to, define what your device is. So there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. But what you start with is just a Raspberry Pi image. And your Raspberry Pi image is your basic Raspbian Jessie image. And we have talked about loading up images on Raspberry Pis in the past. And in fact, it's pretty simple. You go to raspberrypi.org. There's a little red link that says downloads, and then you can download the images. So that's the first place that you want to start. And you can copy, and again, I've got links in the show notes to this, but you can copy the image file. This is just
has a micro SD, right?
This little micro SD card. You can just copy the image to a micro SD card, and you do that using and the people that are using Windows can actually do this as well, but it becomes obviously a little Linux box when it goes in the Raspberry Pi. But those of you who are using Linux, you just go dd space if equals the file name that you've downloaded, and in this case it's like 2017-111 blah blah Raspberry Jessie, or Raspbian Jessie rather. And you go OF, and that becomes the path to your particular thing. And if you don't want to sit there for hours trying to figure out whether anything is happening, there's a cool little flag. I'll throw it out there for the people who are going to copy their images that way. And again, this will be in the show notes. A status equals progress. And then you can actually see that something is happening in the background. Otherwise, it's that old classic problem where you go, is anything actually happening? Is anything actually happening? Anyway, so that is the way to do that one. I was going somewhere. Oh, yes. Sorry. So you've got the image downloaded, and then using the link there, you can go and create all these lovely little things on Alexa for you. It's rather on Amazon.com, so that you can start to download the project, and then it just becomes a question of loading up the bits and pieces. Okay. Now, what's neat about that is Alexa also has instructions there so that you can do it on different things. But if you want to build an assistant that lives in, if you want to build one of these assistants and you can't buy an Echo, or you just want to do it because, hey, on this show, we do stuff like that. We experiment, we try things, right? I mean, we're makers, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, you're supposed to agree with me on this here.
Absolutely. We are the dreamers. Yes.
That's
absolutely.
right, exactly. So you've got a little tiny external speakers. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this. I think this was like $7. The card there. The Raspberry Pi, as you know, is $35. If you get, and that's even with the Raspberry Pi 3, which is already got. So you don't have to spend the extra $5 that I did for the USB. The USB Wi-Fi card. So you don't have to do that.
Right.
And then you get into you boot up your Raspberry Pi, you SSH into it. And then you install, there's an install script that Amazon provides. There's an Alexa AVS install script. And you just put in your security credentials, the ones that you got from Amazon for creating, for creating the developer profile and the security profile, because they want to know who you are when you're doing this stuff, right?
Yeah,
and then you just run the install script, and this thing does, basically installs all the things for you. And then you can start Alexa. Alexa listens on a port. It listens on port 3000 by default on the system. And you've got your little intelligent assistant that is basically listening to what you're doing on the system. It's actually, there's a number of steps involved in doing this, but it's not all that complex once you've got your little Raspberry Pi thing sitting on the list.
It really does seem like plugging in all the pieces until you got yourself a working Raspberry Pi.
Well, you don't have a working Raspberry Pi. You have a working Amazon Echo, sort of, without the little tube, and you can get it at that point anywhere in the world without having to be.
Well, yeah, and for everyone out there who has not seen the breakdown of the Alexa, the Echo, the Dot, they're essentially just like little cylinders that just have speakers, a microphone, and of course a little computer, just like a Raspberry Pi. And yeah, it's not secret what they're doing. It's a speaker and a mic and a computer.
Yeah, and this thing actually does work a lot like Alexa. So it uses the hot word. So the hot word actually works. Originally, this was one of my beefs with the Alexa code that was being distributed initially. You had to push a button, so they wouldn't let you use the hot word stuff, which really annoyed me, to be perfectly honest. Like, what do you mean I can't use the hot word? So you had to sit there and basically push a button or push a key on your keyboard and then speak, and then Alexa would say whatever it was. So now Alexa actually listens. So you can have your little Raspberry Pi and you just say Alexa, and then you'll hear beep, and then you just say what's the time, what's the weather, play me some music, whatever.
I hope we did not turn anyone's Alexas on. I don't know if you saw the news report. It happened in California a little while ago, or it was like 2 weeks ago. There was a news report about a little girl who ordered a dollhouse and some cookies from Amazon. And of course the mother was away at work or something, and the girl got the stuff delivered to her home, and then like that was all funny. But then a news reporter picked it up, said the exact same thing on the air, and then like everything in like the San Diego area started delivering cookies and dollhouses. It was hilarious, but it showed how careful you have to be when you start talking about digital assistants.
Well, this is new stuff.
Yeah.
And I hate to put it like this, but we're going to have to figure this out as we go along. And if you're willing to experiment, if you're willing to do the sorts of things that we're talking about here, You know, you can be part of that experimentation. You can be part of trying to figure out. I heard, no, maybe it was actually for reading Kevin Kelly's book, The Inevitable. I think maybe it was in there where I was reading it. And he says he was talking to the Google guys in the early days. He was talking to one of the Google guys anyway in the early days. And he said, I have questions about, building this big search engine. You know, what are you really trying to do? What do you do after you've indexed, all the websites and so forth? And apparently, and I don't remember whether it was Sergey or but he turned to Kevin Kelly and said, "Oh, we're not building a search engine. We're building an AI."
That's very future, very future sensitive. I like that.
Well, and the idea, and if you think about it, and we'll talk about a couple of the other projects in a second here, but if you think about it, these intelligent assistants, these AIs that we're building, and by the way, my latest Cooking with Linux video, YouTube Cooking with Linux video, is about AI, interestingly enough, about running some AI programs on your Linux desktop. But all this requires data, huge, massive amounts of data, okay? And where are you going to get this data? You're going to get it from people. And how are you going to involve people? Well, you're going to give them something that they will want to use that will feed massive amounts of data into the system.
Which is another thing that you have said before on the show is, I hope Google is not evil, because we rely on them for calendars, email, web searches. We rely on Google for everything.
I should say it again today because I've said it on just about every show. God, I hope Google isn't evil.
Right. That's where they get their data.
But anyway, so apparently he actually said that. He said, no, we're not building a search engine. We're building an AI. And it was like, wow, holy cow, talk about forward thinking. So massive amounts of data. My son right now is playing something called Quick Draw. I don't know if you've looked at this. Is
that the one you play with friends?
Doodle. Have you seen it?
I think that's the one that you play with friends, and you get like a subject, and you have to draw the picture, and then they have to kind of guess it. Is that it?
Yes. Except that this one is actually you're playing with Google's AI.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'll have to find that and throw it into the notes at the last minute as well here. Google Quick Draw. There we go. Google Quick Draw. Okay, I'll get the link. Google Quick Draw is quickdraw.withgoogle.com. Okay. So you're playing the Quick Draw game, and it's giving you a word. And you're supposed to you've got 20 seconds to scribble this thing into your Chrome browser, okay? Twins. And Google's AI sits there and goes, oh, I'm seeing this. Oh, I think it's this. Oh, I think it's this. Wait a minute. I think you're drawing this. Oh, and every once in a while I go, I have no idea what you're drawing. I have no idea what this is.
I have access to the entire human history, and I have no idea where you're going with this.
Exactly. I have no idea where you're going with this, which happens a lot with my son. A lot of the things he draws, he starts off with a circle. It's like, why does everything, he's 9 years old, okay? Why does everything start with a circle? And then I'll draw like a really quick and easy version of something, and he goes, what made you think of doing it that way? It's like, you got to cut through this stuff. You've got 20 seconds. You don't have a lot of time for detail. Anyway, Quick Draw with Google, okay? quickdraw.withgoogle.com. If you try that, you're basically playing the same game, except you're playing it with Google's AI. And Google's AI is learning as you play. So there are like millions of people, I'm assuming millions, maybe it's just my kid, but I assume that there are a lot of people doing this at the moment. You're filling in all the information that it needs. So it's looking at it. It's going, well, what does, what does a candy cane look like? What does a trumpet look like? What does a boat look like? Like all these things that, you can be given as words, and you start to draw it. And even if you get it wrong, even if Google at the end of it says, I have no idea what the heck that was, then the program gets told what it was. So the program incorporates your drawing or your attempted drawing or whatever it is, excuse me, into its experience. So that next time when you're starting to draw some squiggle or something like that, it goes, oh, wait a minute, I know, it's this.
Right.
And sometimes it's freaky how fast. You need to try this, by the way. And people out there listening, you need to try it.
It's just free in your browser?
What's that? Sorry?
It's just free in your browser?
Yeah, it's just free in your browser. You just play it in your browser. And what you're doing, so Google has figured out like all these things that happens, the intelligent assistant, Siri is the same thing. The intelligent assistant on your phone, the intelligent assistant in your house. What you're doing while you're using it is you're training the AI so that the AI is becoming smarter and smarter all the time. It's becoming better at interpreting what it is that you actually want to say before you say it. It's becoming better at interpreting what you're drawing when you're scribbling something. It's getting better at interpreting basically everything. The more data you throw at it and the more hardware they built, the more resources they throw at this thing, all these numbers getting crunched,
or
the
bench,
big data,
or wine
we use that
glass.
word all the time,
Oh, I know.
big data,
It's paint
all
can.
this big data going into the system is making it smarter and smarter so that we want, and here's the thing, okay? We're training it and it's training us. And it's training us because what's happening is it gives us more and more of what we want, which gives us more and more reason to train it. So it's this wonderful circle.
Okay. Marcel, I just tried it, and for all of you watching on the video portion, I'm sure those of you listening would have heard the little robot voice in the background. But for all of you watching, I just had to draw a paint can, and I literally drew 5 lines, and it guessed paint can within 4 seconds. This thing is now I have to draw a dog, and
I
of
see
course, it starts
hexagon,
with a circle,
or diamond, or peanut,
thinks it's a
or
diamond,
knife. I see
little
mouse,
legs here,
or bird, or barn, or mosquito,
and
or table.
it
Oh, I
thinks
know.
a
It's
table.
dog.
Oh wait, it got dog. It got dog in 7 seconds. This thing is crazy. It's cool.
That wild?
Yeah. Love it.
It is. It's fantastic. Anyway, so like I said, I tried it a while ago, and then I sort of forgot about it. And then my son discovered it. I'm not sure how he discovered it, but he is totally hooked on this thing. He plays with this like every day. He spends some amount of time playing.
Your son is training the most sophisticated artificial intelligence in the world. Congratulations.
Well, no, absolutely. But we're all doing it. When we use these intelligent assistants, we're all doing it. And in fact, what I love about, again, I hope Google isn't evil, but what I love about the fact that they release all this stuff, that they share all this code, is they're basically, they're putting their cards on the table to some degree. But the beauty of open source is that you've got more than one person on it. You've got more than one company working at it. And Google obviously figured that out way early in the game, like really early in the game. You know what? Things would go a lot faster and a lot better if we involved the whole world. And that is, in so many ways, the beauty of open source is you're involving the whole world. And obviously, I some kind of a keyword there that made my tablet light up and say, you said something, I don't know what it was.
It heard you being idealistic, and it went, okay, yeah, I can get on board with that, and it turned on.
I can get on board with that.
And of course, speaking of Google and and opening up their API, I mean, the other one I mentioned to you earlier, Pico, P-E-E-Q-O, that also runs on the Google API, but this one is a little robot, completely open source. So if you want to make one yourself, although I looked at the plans, very, very complicated, like not your amateur DIY, but it's a robot that listens to you and responds to you in GIFs. And GIFs are, of course, the little animated images that, have a pretty candid response for almost everything. But it listens to you, puts it into Google, finds an appropriate GIF, and plays it on the little Pico screen. And it's a robot that can actually do other things such as, monitor your web browsing, so it can block certain sites while you browse it. It can, set reminders, set events for you. All right,
just for that, I'm not getting it.
Yeah, but it's really, really cool. And again, this is all DIY. It's all made by one guy, and he put up everything he had on how to program it, how to make it up on, of course, up on the internet. Very, very cool.
Well, let's just throw a couple of other ones out there because just to give you an idea of how many people are working on this stuff at the moment. There's another, and a lot of these, again, the links are all there. Jasper is another one, jasperproject.github.io. And I'm not going to tell you right now that every single one of these projects is equally good, or that,
equally refined, right?
What's that, sorry?
Equally refined, because it takes people.
Well, not just refined, but whether the community is as excited about it, whether there are as many people working at it. And when I first suggested this, people actually started sending me links and saying, "Oh, well, you got to check out this one. Oh, well, you got to check out this one." So I looked at a few, and And of course, I've been playing with different Raspberry Pi images, to see how the different ones compare. And because I don't have a lot of connected devices, I'm limited to doing things like, what's the weather like, and what do you get when you multiply 9 times 4? Actually, the correct answer is, do you remember the joke at the end of Life, the Universe, and Everything from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
42, of course.
Yeah, at 42. So it turns out that what you have to find out is, well, if you don't, to understand what the answer means, you have to understand what the question was. Okay, and of course, so they go through this whole routine. So basically, the first 3 books are just one long joke.
Right.
And at the end, they find out that the original question was, what do you get when you multiply 9 by 6? Or, and the answer is 42.
Absolutely.
Okay, and of course, the one guy turns to the other guy, Ford turns and says, I always knew there was something fundamentally wrong with the universe. So the whole thing is just lead up to one big joke.
Right. It's, I love that series. And of course, they have their own robot, Marvin, who I was hoping that someone would make a Marvin AI, but has not happened yet.
No one's made a Marvin. So anyway, so this is Jasper. So let me just throw a few out there because I know we're
we have like 3 minutes. Let's do it.
Yeah, jasperproject.github.io is one of the ones that's out there. And of course, they've got, a little video to show you how this thing works. Adrian is another one that I think is kind of fascinating. And I'm sort of playing with Adrian right now. That's the one I played with Alexa, and I'm playing with Adrian. www.theadrianproject, TheAdrian project.com. Okay, is another one that's out there. So Mycroft, Jasper, Adrian, and of course, Alexa. So you can download and run your own Alexa. Personally, I'd like to see, Google do exactly the same thing. You hear me, Google?
Google Home is on their heels.
You can also distribute the source for Google Home.
Yeah,
You're not going to buy one, at least distribute the source for it so I can play with it. But yes, so that is one of the other things that, so that's one of the, so, you've got like 4 projects out there. There are other things. There's actually a French developer who's making one called Jarvis, interestingly enough. And I think Jarvis is actually based on Jasper, though I'm not 100% on that at the moment. There were other projects like Magic Mirror, and the idea was that you basically built a mirror frame and you hid. Those. Have you seen it? And you hide your Raspberry Pi with Intelligent Assistant in behind.
And then you press like a digitizer up to the glass, and it turns the mirror into a smart mirror.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, not just a smart mirror, but a mirror that you can talk to. So mirror on the wall.
Right.
Literally have these conversations with this thing. So you can be part of training. Our digital replacements. I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding.
But no,
I think I'm.
No, there's a lot of cool projects out there. And again, please check out the show notes over at Computer America. We'll include everything that we talked about here today and links and all that good stuff. So just real quick, could you Blue Sky not even Blue Sky. What are you up to? We have like 2 minutes left. What is Marcel Gagne been up to lately? And what do you want people to check out?
Well, I've said this before. I run a consulting company, but that's only so interesting. That's so I can make money to play with all the other things that I play with.
Right.
Like I said, I'm playing with intelligent assistants at the moment, and in fact, I'm going to be doing a heck of a lot more of that over the next little while. I know I am because this is just one of those things I can't shake. I can't get that out of my head. Please, if you again, this is in the show notes. Visit my Flipboard magazine if you want to find out what interesting Linux articles I think that caught my attention that I decided to bookmark at the moment. Of course, there's my YouTube channel, youtube.com/freethinkeratlarge, where I do my cooking with Linux videos. You can find me as WFTL, writer and freethinker at large, WFTL on Twitter, twitter.com/WFTL. If you want to find out what ridiculous things I'm riffing about. And some of them are ridiculous. And of course, there's just my plain old marcelgagne.com. I'm continuing to write. I'm telling myself that I'm going to write less techie stuff and more fiction. We'll find out if that's actually happening anytime soon. But if you're so inclined, you can also find me on Wattpad. I've decided that just for the heck of it, I'm going to play with the Wattpad publishing / social network and see what that's like. So that's just something recent that I've done just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
But wattpad.com, you can find Marcel Gagne, WFTL, Free Thinker at Large. I'm out there as well. So I'm doing a little bit of everything. And of course, I'm trying to raise kids.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you know,
60
at the same time,
seconds.
it's good to stay busy, and the music means that we are just out of time. Marcel, I want to thank you so much for being on with us. This was, you know, a very, very interesting conversation, and again, very relevant. Thanks to CES just happening a couple weeks ago, and everything being virtual assistant compatible. So. I want to say thank you once again, and you'll be back hopefully next month, or not even hopefully, you will be back. I'm gonna make you. You will be back next month for another all Linux show here on Computer America.
You know, the asteroid could hit.
I'll deflect it because Linux show must go on. So everyone out there who is listening, everyone out there who is watching, thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to tune in tomorrow as we give away a great prize and have Gobi 2, their
10
fitness
seconds.
band tracker kind of deal, on tomorrow's show as well. So until then, goodbye everyone. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.